Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at noon.
Beginning with breaking news, North Dakota health experts are reporting another high daily positivity rate in the state with over 300 new cases in Cass County. Now, the new daily positivity rate for today is 18.17%, 1,039 new cases in the state, with Cass County having the highest at 341. Now, there's 12 new deaths being reported in the state, bringing that total to 686 and over 11,000 total active cases in the state. The full numbers can be found on our VNL News app and on the bottom of your screen. Now on to more breaking news. The Bemidji Police Department needs your help locating a missing 13-year-old boy. Vicente White was last seen on the 700 block of 15th Street Northwest around 12:30 this morning. Bemidji police say it appears that White left the area voluntarily with no evidence showing it to be suspicious. White is 5'4", 155 pounds, has brown eyes and brown hair. He was wearing a red hooded sweatshirt. Anyone with information involving White's whereabouts are asked to call the Bemidji Police Department. New for you at noon. Valley News Live has now obtained an email unveiling Sanford Health's next stage in its pandemic surge plan, focusing on 3 areas. Those are expanding bed capacity, continuing with scheduled non-emergent procedures but review new cases, and reassigning staff from clinics to medical centers. The email states that 35 more beds have been added to the Broadway campus and 14 rooms are under construction at the main Sanford Medical Center. Sanford is also looking over Governor Burgum's new order that allows asymptomatic healthcare workers who test positive to continue working in COVID units. Now, it was so chilly this morning, my hands even felt cold with gloves on. Will we see any type of warm-up? Well, let's check in with meteorologist Lisa Drake.
Well, you know, we're climbing a little bit with our temperatures, but it's not going to get to as warm as we've been recently, unfortunately. So here's a look at what we've got going on. We need to talk about some snow that's coming down here in the valley. You can see on our radar the snow that's lifted in with the warm front that's pushing in. And you could see that over the last hour or so, we've got a band that's really developed now in Grand Forks and stretching back toward Devil's Lake. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. You can see the stretches down through Crookston and Mahnomen. Grand Forks reporting some light snow. And then back over to Highway 2, along Highway 2 between Grand Forks and Devil's Lake and surrounding areas. Some snow showing up on the radar. And here's our view right now in Devil's Lake at the home of Economy. There you can see some pretty decent sized flakes trying to come down in that area. So we're looking at some snow falling in Devil's Lake and also again in Grand Forks being reported at the airport as we take a look at the conditions around the region right now. Fargo is at 32 degrees. It's below freezing in Grand Forks, so some of that snow might be sticking on colder surfaces. It's sunny in Fergus Falls, and in, again, Devil's Lake, we're looking at 30, also below freezing with some of those flakes flying around. This afternoon, be ready for some areas of scattered snow, and as we warm up a little bit, maybe a little mix in there as well for those of us up north. We're going to talk more about that and what we can expect for the rest of the week coming up.
It's interesting how the entire section of the state has different parts, like snow in one part and sunny in the other. It's kind of interesting to look at. So we'll stay tuned with you, Lisa. Thanks again. Well, this week marks the 33rd anniversary since the disappearance of a vulnerable Wadena, Minnesota woman. Carla Beth Anderson was 23 at the time of her disappearance on November 13th, 1987. She's listed on the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Cold Case playing cards. The cards highlight 52 violent unsolved cases from the past 50 years. If you know anything about Carla Anderson, contact the Wadena Police Department or the Minnesota BCA. Now, Fargo school leaders are going to spend nearly $2 million to install air and water cleaning equipment in their buildings. The school board last night approved buying the equipment using CARES Act dollars and other grant monies. The plan includes installing isolation units to clear the air and water filtration systems. Fargo School Superintendent says the move shouldn't be perceived as a mitigation strategy against COVID-19. It's just a good strategy in providing clean air and water. The Back to the Building plan is on hold in West Fargo. Students were expected to return to full-time in-person learning by the end of this month, but that's been moved to the end of January. Elementary students are making a switch on November 30th to 4-day in-person learning weeks with Wednesdays at home. For middle schoolers, the district plans to bring 6th grade back to week of January 11th, then wait 2 weeks and monitor the COVID numbers. If there isn't a large spike, 7th and 8th graders will be back full-time the week of January 25th. The district says with all students back in the classroom, they won't be able to ensure physical distancing. Hospital beds across Europe are full as coronavirus cases spike. Italy is swamped again after becoming the epicenter of the pandemic last spring. CBS's Riley Carlson has more from London.
Italian hospitals are overwhelmed, with the country on the brink of reaching 1 million cases of COVID-19. Nurses in Naples are handing out oxygen tanks to people in their cars as they struggle to breathe while waiting in long lines to be admitted. Intensive care units are running out of beds. This doctor in Rome says, "I'm worried it's exploding again. Like what we saw in Bergamo and Milan, the body count is going to climb." ICUs in France are so packed, coronavirus patients are being airlifted to hospitals in Germany, but beds are filling up fast there too. At this hospital in central England, 600 staff members are off sick or isolating. 4 have died from the coronavirus. Those still on duty are fighting burnout and increasing case numbers.
We're all still kind of running on adrenaline at this point.
Overcrowded hospitals are exactly what the government here in the UK is trying to avoid. So it's turning to mass testing in dozens of English cities to help ease the crunch. It's already underway in Liverpool. Tens of thousands of residents have been tested since Friday. The military is deployed to help reach as many people as possible, identify hidden COVID cases, and stop the spread. Riley Carlson, CBS News, London.
The Pacific island of Vanuatu reported its first COVID-19 case today, ending its status as one of the few virus-free countries in the world. The 23-year-old man had recently returned from the United States. Now, there are new concerns for people living in North Dakota after Minnesota Governor Tim Walz ordered new COVID-19 restrictions. Starting Friday, Minnesota bars and restaurants can't have people inside after 10 p.m. And when you add Grand Forks' 11 p.m. closing time to the mix, many are concerned about the traffic and potential COVID cases it may bring to Fargo. The city does not have a curfew in place or a time that bars and restaurants have to close. The people of Fargo say they will begin to see the impacts if something isn't done.
And I think it's going to be good and bad for Fargo. I mean, it might be good business and tourism, but at the same time, too, you know, you just got to keep that in mind with the COVID and what our level just went up to.
Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney says he is working with the city attorney's office to craft various options for consideration by the full city commission at its meeting next Monday. Until then, last call for Fargo businesses is up to them. Okay. Then there's another serious problem facing our veterans, and it's one we don't talk about enough. The sacrifices these men and women make often leaves them with scars we can't see. Military suicide rates have increased 20% more this year than in 2019. Violent behavior has also spiked due to struggling during this COVID-19 pandemic because they cannot receive the help they need. This comes from war zones, deployments, national disasters, and civil unrest. We talked to a military veteran, and he tells us why the number 22 is so special.
22 veterans commit suicide every day or attempt suicide every day. And, you know, obviously I think the number is closer to 20 right now, but that's still way too high. And I'm so passionate about it because the person I slept next to in Iraq, he committed suicide right when we got back.
Kuhn says it can get $10 billion every year from the government to deal with veteran suicide. Kuhn feels the money should be better distributed to local churches, VFWs, and American Legions. And Mission 22 also provides relief programs for veterans and their families. The suicide hotline is a free service, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's provided on the bottom of your screen if you need that number. Well, coming up at noon, we take a look at how you can help protect veterans from scams. And what a chilly morning we started off with. Lisa even showing us there's snow in some places. We have the full weather report up next.